Welcome back, everybody, to the Real Talk Show and Podcast. My name is David Kurz, and we're back again with another amazing entrepreneur who's going to talk about everything that he does. Benjamin here with me. Thanks, Ben, for coming on the show.
Thanks,
man.
David.
I appreciate
Thanks,
it. And we're going to talk about everything he does, his journey into entrepreneurship, a little bit of maybe coaching some of our real estate professionals out there on how to get a deal done early on and what to look for when it comes to things like open permits and code violations, et cetera, et cetera. And we want to really dig in deep for the next 10 minutes on helping you close more business. And I hope that's okay with you if you don't mind, right? My name, again, is David Kurz. You can check out my website, davidadamkurz.com or davidkurz360.com. That's davidkurz360. On there, you'll be able to find every platform that I'm alive on, and you can subscribe, follow, and do all that good stuff. So make sure you hit subscribe buttons wherever they are. Make sure you're sharing this with your friends. Make sure that everybody has this information at their fingertips. We appreciate you. Welcome again to the Real Talk Show. So, what's up, Ben? What's the name of your company, and what do you guys focus on?
The name of my company is Boss Construction Group. We focus on open permit and code violation solutions.
Okay.
So basically, that's anything that normally a seller has to do when they're selling their property, whether it's commercial or residential.
That's all right. So we were talking about something a little bit earlier, and we were like, you said your mission is to make sure that realtors close more deals.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
So it doesn't sound like that when you give me your description of what you guys do for a living.
Sure.
So talk to me a little bit on how you proactively teach and coach agents to look for open permits or look for code violations so that they can tackle these things early on with you.
Sure.
And have a successful closing.
So these issues, David, viewers, they're always a hardship for the seller.
Right.
Seller did work on the property, contractor never called in final inspection, or contractor did work without a permit or work outside the scope, or I was just in Sunny Isles Beach today, contractor wanted to do flooring and improvements, used that permit to get inside the building, upstairs with the management, and then ended up renovating kitchen and bathrooms.
Oh, wow.
So these are situations that lead to non-conforming uses, things that cannot pass inspection. So for example, for this agent this morning, he said, I have an open flooring permit. And in Sunny Isles Beach, it's a 3,000 square foot condo. The whole unit was renovated after the flooring was done. So we don't know if there's soundproofing under the floor. We don't know if the floor can even pass inspection. And I'm like, I know that if I go in there or bring the Sunny Isles Beach building department in there,
right,
they're going to red flag the property for everything.
Yeah, right.
So in a nutshell, I said, you need to find a seller. Again, convey that the property is going to be conveyed with the open permit as it was from two sellers before, and close the deal. Agent, of course, is sitting with a listing, and I don't want to take anyone's money, or I don't want to go under contract in something where I think could damage the property owner or the agent or the seller.
And it's okay for a buyer to come and say, hey, listen, I'm willing to take this. No worries.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
Nothing's going to happen.
You can close with open permits. They're not title defects on properties.
Okay.
But when they start getting into roofing and additions, like I got another call. This guy had a slew, city of Miami, not far from where we are right now, had a slew of open permits for an addition that was done in 2013.
Okay.
So when it's involving roofing outside the scope, it's not just flooring or windows or doors. When it's a very wide scope of work and that permit is left open,
it's harder to handle.
It's harder to handle, and there's a lot more deficiencies that can come up. My idea of a successful outing with the city, if you will, is no outing with the city. So I want to try and close out permits administratively. I want to close out permits using an engineer's letter in lieu of inspections. I want to develop every solution that I can, and permitting is done on the local level. So for example, in the city of West Park, I closed a roof with an engineering letter in November. Well, now with the new building official in February, they say, I don't want to use engineers' letters. I want to only use city inspections to verify that the work is done.
Right.
So things are always changing and evolving. That's why permitting is such an intricate process. And myself being an owner-operator and a general contractor, not only am I identifying deficiencies and moving that permit around, hopefully it's not holding up the closing. Hopefully we're doing this very early on.
So because you're a general
I'm rambling on,
contractor and you're doing this, you have the opportunity to not only help somebody with the open permit, but also if repairs are needed, they can work with you as well. Like they don't have to go outside.
Correct.
Find somebody else to do this.
Any type of plumbing or electrical tweaks or anything that's needed. We were talking about the reoccupancy inspection with the city of North Miami, for example.
Right.
This reoccupancy inspector, I mean, you have firefighters that 100% of people like, 50% like police, nobody likes the city, and the reoccupancy inspector is the guy coming in to blow up the deal. This is the city's way of, which I wholeheartedly disagree with, this is the city's way of looking to cure code compliance issues while the property is transferring ownership from one person to another.
That's a problem.
It's a huge problem. I had a lady in my...
It's like the worst time to do it, isn't it?
I had a lady in Miami Gardens. She was 80 years old. A lot of things were done through many owners of the property. She had lived in the property for about 20 years, I think. There was a discrepancy. There was said 3-2 on Miami-Dade property appraiser, and there was a 4-3 in the field. So I used, there's some things we could use. I knew a lady in the property appraiser's office. She said, okay, so you could pass your reoccupancy inspection in the city of Miami Gardens. Send me the appraisal. Then I can update it in the system with the county, and then the reoccupancy inspector will mow through that inspection. So I'm looking for different solutions and ways to handle things.
So you guys understand this is entrepreneurial thinking outside of the box, right? This is what value do you bring to your clients? We talk about this all the time because in order for you to supersede, in order for you to succeed at a high level, you have to bring a specific value that no one else is bringing to the table. And if someone else is bringing similar value to the table, they're not doing it at a level that you are, right? And we talk about that consistently, especially in our coaching and stuff like that. We say, look, you want to open a real estate brokerage. Well, what's your value proposition? How are you different than the other 5,000 real estate brokerages that are in Miami-Dade?
How are you being a resource to your seller?
Right.
I look at how I'm being a resource to agents to get the deal done.
Right.
And again, sometimes the contractor's no longer to be found, even if they are in business. You can't get them in the building department to come and do the right thing. Unfortunately, the building departments, they're letting these guys still pull permits 5 years later. But all the time it falls on the property owner. Like if you were a commercial owner and one of your tenants was doing things that they shouldn't, the property owner gets the violation. And you're even responsible. Some people say, well, how did I buy the property with these violations? They didn't come up back then. Either that lien search company or that title company wasn't doing their job or they're no longer in business. So again, people were like, well, what happened? But it's present day, it's now.
Right.
You need to close on the property. You have this condition that you inherited, the skeleton in the closet, if you will. And now it's time to close that up and clean on with that.
So before we started this show, I made a phone call and I called Rudy Hernandez, who's the owner of New World Title. Now that you're bringing up title companies and stuff. And I asked him, I said, listen, if we get a listing, right?
Yeah.
Ben wants to sell his house with me. We get a listing and I tell Ben, listen, when we get a buyer, we're going to want to choose the title company so that we have complete control of the situation.
Sure.
So I'm going to ask you to pay for title insurance, right?
Sure.
Seller agrees. The first thing that I can do is I can call Rudy or anyone at New World Title and I can say, hey, I need you to do a lien search for this property. I just got off the phone with him. He said, sure, we'll do it. So if your title company is not doing that for you, you might want to think about who you're using and potentially use somebody else because not all title companies are willing to take on that expense and risk. Maybe they get the deal or maybe they don't, right? It is an expense to the title company.
But essentially, they're looking to be a resource for the agents and the property owners and earn your business.
That's the thinking out of the box that we're talking about. He's offering to run the lien search for you so that you can see what violations, if any, are on there, code violations or permits or whatever.
Sure.
And you can tackle these things with your seller early on.
Before you go under contract.
So that you don't end up under contract and waste all this money and all this time on photography and video and marketing and Facebook ads and everything we talk about, like all the abundance of funds that you spend on marketing a listing, and then end up under contract for the deal to fall apart.
Sure.
Right? And then now you're sitting in like a hen in the hen house, hoping
Yeah.
that magic buyer rolls around that will take the property or convey the property with those open issues.
And
right?
sometimes the seller does have the resources. Sometimes they don't have the
Sometimes
resources
they
to
don't.
cure
You
the
gotta
violation.
find the buyer that was willing
Sure.
to cure those resources, right?
Absolutely.
And you just need to be able to work with someone like Ben to say, hey, Ben, listen, I need you to check this out for me. One, I need you to quote the job for me. What would it take? How much would it cost to cure this, right? And then go to a potential buyer and tell your seller, hey, Mr. Seller, I'm going to need you to credit this person X amount of dollars. You could work for your seller and figure it out. Because you're going to the buyer to tell them, hey, these open violations exist, right?
Yeah.
And you're going to have to fix these. So what we're going to do is we're going to give you this quote that we got with Boss Construction Group, right?
Yep.
And we're going to credit you that amount of money. That's how you get to the closing table, guys, right?
Sure.
And you get your seller out of having to do the work, unless they want to do the work. If they have the means, get them to do the work and take care of it.
It was really
Yeah.
interesting you mentioned that, because I was working in Coral Springs with someone who I was having a landscape issues. These cities, Coral Gables, Weston, they have big landscaping codes. So I was like, what? You know, the homeowner was having a fight with the code officer on hedges and things in the property. So I'm more of like an owner's rep general contractor. So I like to let all the realtors know that. So for example, one person might say, hey, my uncle is an electrician.
Right.
I'm willing to work with whatever resources that you have. Again, I'm not looking to do work.
Right.
So someone really, really easy to work with and flexible. That's who I am. Sorry. And the agents look for that in me.
Right.
They look for someone to be, you know, not only transparent, but again, I lay out everything for the seller and the agent. For example,
how long you been doing this?
I've been doing this about 5 years now.
5 years? How'd you get to this? Like, no one wakes up in the morning and says, I want to close permits for a living, right?
No,
So,
I want to clean up other contractors' messes.
right. So how did you get into this business? What life events happened that
Sure.
put you in this position to have
Sure.
this sort of expertise?
Well, starting off at USF in Tampa, I found a passion for local government. All my friends around 06, everyone was using law school to dodge the economy and things like that. So I was thinking urban planning.
Right.
I was thinking to get a degree in urban planning, work in local government, doing zoning. I started with Miami Gardens in the planning and zoning department, and then shifted my way to Weston, where I grew up.
Right.
After Andrew, I relocated over to Weston. So I was a city inspector. I was a private contractor. In local government right now, especially in South Florida, a lot of our building departments are being privatized. Residents are getting a poor level of service. Private companies are rotating staff between cities, and that's how cities are staying alive without paying pensions and different
Right.
things. Very controversial.
Right.
To make a long story short, I worked in code enforcement and building as a building inspector, and I learned a lot of good things and I met a lot of good people, but I wasn't going to have that growth in
Right.
local government.
Right. Right.
I was feisty. I wasn't the person just, you know, sitting behind the counter. I was helping people with their problems. And then after I was in transition with the city, I got my real estate license. And family members who were realtors and other people were calling me who I knew in the building department. They're like, hey, Ben, you know the process. It's very time consuming. One thing triggers another. It's very
Right.
detail oriented.
Right.
So agents in 09 through 11, when I was in Weston, things were going crazy. They were lining up in the building department trying to resolve these things for their seller. And that's when I got my real estate license and my general contractor license. So that pretty much course of 10 years was almost a synthesis.
Right. You're
I'm
merging two passions, two careers,
pretty much
making it happen.
I'm like, how could I be involved in local government, help residents and property owners out,
Right.
And how to help them achieve voluntary compliance. A lot of times people don't like the city because they don't have good news to bring to you. You don't have your local business tax receipt. You did a tenant improvement
It's always something.
without a permit
it's always
or
something.
whatever. So I help people, especially agents and title companies, navigate these issues.
Right.
And I help them navigate them with the seller. I help them navigate them with the existing property scope and review and
Right.
conditions. And yeah, that's pretty much how I ended up at this point. I had to think there for a second.
So how does everybody get in touch with you?
Well, people can get in touch with me. My cell phone is 954-648-9883. I have a Facebook page, which Santiago at S. Leon Productions helps me bring to you guys. Now, I wish everyone could be in the field with me all the time, working with the inspectors, but on this Facebook page, I'm not posting what I had for dinner or whatever. I'm posting relevant content, right? So I'm posting relevant content on how to show agents what to look for, what I'm experiencing in various municipalities. Keep in mind, between Miami-Dade and Broward, I do Miami-Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach. Just between Miami-Dade and Broward, we have over 60 cities with different processes, and those processes are always changing.
Awesome.
So I just want to keep agents, I just want to be able to bring in the field, and I started with social media about 4 months ago, and I just want to bring agents in the field what I'm experiencing and seeing.
Awesome.
And keep them throughout the whole process.
Right, in line.
Yeah.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Well, thank you for being on the show.
Thank you.
Another journey of entrepreneurship, another lesson to be learned. We appreciate you guys watching the Real Talk show and podcast. 2 things coming up, very important. March 14th and the 15th is our mastermind. Don't forget to go to realtalkmasterminds.com to sign up and register today. I've got some amazing people coming down. John Cheplek, like master coach to all the master top teams in the world, is coming down. Veronica Figueroa, top producing team in Orlando, is coming down. And Grant Wise, who is a top-notch Facebook ad developer and creator for real estate leads and businesses. All these three guys are coming down, or these 3 folks are coming down with me to sit with only 35 people and mastermind on their businesses. So that's something you want to sign up for. Go to realtalkmasterminds.com. And then, of course, there's the Real Talk Conference. We just launched the website. Real Talk Conference is going to be October 9th, 10th, and 11th. The 9th is for independent brokers only, and the main conference will be on the 10th and 11th. You can go to realtalkcon.com to buy your tickets. Thanks, everybody, for tuning into the show. Appreciate you for being on the show,
Adam.
Ben. I appreciate it very much. All right, guys, take care of yourself. We'll see you soon.